Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the solar eclipse. It's on September 21. It's at 29 degrees of Virgo. Now, 29 is a critical degree, and this is a harvest eclipse, so that makes it particularly intense. So let's talk about it. So this eclipse and the eclipse we had earlier in September are the exact same eclipses that we had in September 2006. So think back to 2006, what was going on? What were the obstacles and challenges? What were the opportunities that were happening? Because those are things that could be happening again this time. And by the way, I do readings so we can look at your chart and look at specifically what's ahead for you. There's a link in the description. So, of course, eclipses bring big change, and that affects the world. And the theme of the eclipse, which is based on the sign of the eclipse, and in this case, the degree of the eclipse, can give us a lot of information about things that could go on in the world. Now, a lot of these things are happening already. They are just reaching a very noticeable and critical stage. But what's more important is that we can derive information for our own lives from what's going on with this eclipse and in the world. So a Virgo eclipse is always about health and well-being. And so during this time, we may see some big news stories about what is going on in the world when it comes to health, disease, infections, just general well-being of people. And what we need to think about for ourselves is, how are we taking care of ourselves? How are we taking care of our bodies? Because this 29-degree eclipse says that if there are things that you know you need to be doing and you're not doing them, now is the time to start, because the energy here is really loud. It's like a megaphone saying, take care of yourself. A Virgo eclipse is about agriculture and the food supply, and so oftentimes with the Virgo eclipse, we are going to see rising food costs or even shortages. And again, you may have already been experiencing some of this, but this is also that now it becomes more extreme. Now it becomes more noticeable. And the message for us as individuals is, how can we become more self-sufficient? Now, in a society, it's very hard to be 100% self-sufficient, but we can learn to cook at home, keep a well-stocked pantry, to connect with local restaurant owners or local farmers and support what they're doing in our communities. A Virgo eclipse also talks about the people in general, the condition of the population, and so that can lead to some, expressing and civil unrest, and we are seeing that again already. And so it's very important to express our opinions and to be out in the world saying our truth. But this is also a reminder that in our own lives, we need to look at what's not working and make some changes to figure out, what we're doing that is something that we would normally rebel against. And so then we say to ourselves, okay, this is something that has to change. Also, a Virgo eclipse is about how large companies and the government itself just works on a daily basis. And so it's quite likely that we're going to hear a lot more about jobs, how many jobs are being created, or how few are being created, layoffs and things like that. And so that reminds us, that bigger picture reminds us to take a look at how we're doing our daily lives and what we need to subtract from our daily lives, what we need to add to our daily lives to make it better, to put ourselves more on the path that we want to be on. And that might involve, meditation or journaling. That might involve getting into the community, meeting your neighbors, and connecting with people. Now, this eclipse affects those people who are born between the 14th of the month and the 27th of the month. I'm going to put the specific dates on the screen, and that means that your sun is getting hit by this eclipse. Now, of course, a conjunction, a square, or an opposition would be the strongest hit, but even a semi-sextile is going to affect you. And so this hit to your sun means that some aspect of your identity is shifting. That is that you are deciding to leave an old part of you behind and embrace something new. Additionally, it's very important to check the planets and as well as a couple of important points, and that would be the ascendant and the midheaven. Those in particular could affect your job, your living arrangement, your relationship. And so look for any planets or points that are between 25 degrees and 29 degrees, or between 0 and 4 degrees. All of those indicate a hit. Of course, personal planets and the moon are going to be a stronger hit. Some of the outer planets like Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are going to be more generational, so people around your age will be experiencing a similar thing. And I also wanted to mention that if you have anything at early Libra, so that's 0 from 4 degrees, that's actually a conjunction with that eclipse, with this eclipse at 29 Virgo. So that's often missed because of the change of signs, but this is a very potent hit. Now, eclipses allow us an opportunity to see our situation very honestly and make some changes. And this can be something you're quite conscious of, that you've been saying to yourself, I need to change this, or you're already in motion towards it. It also can bring a kind of, oh, the emperor has no clothes type of experience where we say, I didn't realize that I've been fooling myself. I didn't realize that I was not paying attention to this as much as I was. And so then it's time to get real. And so either of those things can help us move forward. Okay, Cancer, this eclipse energy is really here to bring you information about your direction, the path you're taking with your life. And that means that information could be coming from all different types of sources, and you could be finding those little nuggets that really help you propel yourself forward towards your goals or whatever it is that your destination is. So that alone is so valuable. But the challenge for you is information overload, where so much information is coming in that you don't have time to process it, or that you're just flooded with conflicting ideas and thoughts, and that can slow you down. So this is a time where it's very important to take each bit of information and process it before going on to the next bit of information. And so it's kind of akin to, chewing and swallowing the food before taking the next bite. So, and right now we're in a society where it's almost that we're force-fed this information constantly. But this is where it's so strongly highlighted for you in particular, because you're sensitive, you're very intuitive, and so you can pick up lots of information even that others cannot. Now, all of this may culminate in some sort of agreement or contract that you need to sign, and that's why you're collecting information, or you're trying to make some sort of decision, maybe about moving or school or some sort of legal matter. All of these things are coming together, bringing you so much information, and it may be time to shut off some of the other things that are coming in, just so you have some time to process. Now, that said, when we look at the chart with Mars at a critical degree, there may be some kind of out-of-the-box thinking that family members are giving you, and it may feel like a complete disconnect, that they don't really understand the situation. But instead of pushing back on that front, take the idea or the thing that they're suggesting and see if you can turn that puzzle piece around enough ways so that you can see what parts do fit. So, and this could help you. This is also this idea of doing something a little bit differently to get out of the rut. And a way that you can uncover more information about this eclipse is through an astrology reading. Astrology readings are very helpful. They give you information about yourself, they can uncover your hidden talents and abilities, and they can also give you a view of what's ahead. So I do readings. There's a link in the description. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon is making a trine to Pluto. It's an out-of-sign trine, but it is definitely a trine. And so there is some good energy for meeting someone for a love relationship. Now, the caveat, of course, is that during an eclipse, the meeting could be quite intense. And the way things are lined up in the chart right now for you could lead to something that is a very physical connection, or you feel a lot of chemistry with this person, even though maybe the other circumstances aren't so ideal. Perhaps they live very far away, or they work in the same office that you do. So there could be something that is telling you, slow down, don't take this too quickly, even though the urge for it may be very strong. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon is making it an opposition to Saturn. And I know you would say normally an opposition to Saturn doesn't sound so good, but what this actually is, well, one, this is the aspect that the connection between Moon and Saturn is always what you're doing when we're talking about relationships with you. The part of this is you can be opposite each other, or you can come together in the middle and actually really help each other. So what this indicates is that you are the authority of some aspects of your daily life, and your partner is the authority of some aspects of their daily life. And there is a need to come together to work more as a team. And this is your opportunity to do more teamwork, where you share your expertise, where you share your abilities. And in those areas where you both maybe are doing a little bit of a power struggle, this is where you could say, all right, let's divide this down into its tiniest little parts. That would be the Virgo eclipse. And say, all right, I already know how to do this part. You already know how to do this part. Maybe we can divide this up in a different way. But overall, this aspect shows that you can come together in some harmony over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the sun, which is doing that opposition to Saturn. And so the energy here is that the thing that you want feels like it's not happening because something out in the world, some sort of authority, is forbidding it. And so there is this sort of energy of trying to say, please, can I have this? And being in this less than powerful position. But here's where the change could be made, because you can switch roles. And so you could be the authority, and you could then be the one who grants yourself the permission. So the first step is to ask yourself, what is really blocking you from having more money? And if it's something external, to try to be in that role, to step into that role, to see how you could shift the energy to get you what you want. So this is a little bit of kind of some mental gymnastics to do at the beginning, but it could lead to a major breakthrough and make money flowing up. Help the money flow into your accounts. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the sun's making an out of sign trine with Uranus. So you have some very good energy and opportunities to make more money over this next 2 weeks. Now, this is an out of sign trine, so it's not as obvious. It may not come from the places that you're expecting. So this may be like a one-time opportunity, or it may be something that's kind of like a bonus, or something where there's a windfall that you weren't expecting. But really look at alternatives to your normal sources of income. That's where this money is. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, Venus and the Sun are making a semi-sextile, but they're in the same sign. And so that's kind of like being stuck in the back seat with a sibling that you mostly get along with, but occasionally you irritate each other. And so this is when it comes to asking for the raise and looking for some support from your supervisor. For the most part, you can get what you want. There may be a little pushback here and there with that semi-sextile, asking you to do reports differently or to sign some sort of agreement or something like that. When you do that, then the opportunity flows in. So this would indicate that mostly you have some good energy here, certainly better energy than having no aspect. So if you were given the chance to completely change one part of your life, what would it be? Take a moment and think about this, because oftentimes that answer will tell you where the eclipse is falling in your chart. And so when we have an eclipse, especially an eclipse that affects the sun in the chart, what gets affected is how you describe yourself to yourself and to others. Then, just less than a month later, Venus opposes the eclipse degree, and that happens on October 1st. And that's going to be some sort of maybe announcement about commerce, about prices, about goods, because Venus rules the Taurus energy, which is the stuff that we want to have. Now, probably the 410 hit is considered one of the most stressful because it is about home and career. And of course, you can mitigate a lot of this energy by leaning in and making as many changes as you can in those areas.